Okay, variables first. Move this up. Again, this is going to be our third one in this homework check. And we're going to just do some really basic things today, just so we can be ready when it's time for equations. So for instance, up in this top part, you're like, really? I'm going to get away with this? I'm just identifying the variable term. You're like, now, why would I want to do that? I can see letters. But I want you to do one more thing with these. When it's saying identify the variables, wherever that variable term is, I want you to put boxes around them, and here's why. When we start solving equations come next week, we're going to be using the box kind of as a guide on knowing what needs to be by itself. Okay? So, as we're doing that, it's just something that ends up becoming a little bit easier on seeing, okay, what do I got to get by itself? Oh, I got to do the opposite to whatever's outside the box. So that's what I'm going to end up doing with these. So wherever it's up top, it's that whole term that I end up wanting to put in the box. So like here, it's just the plus D, and I'm going to put the D down just to get my brain thinking that way. You may think it's kind of crazy, but it works. Here, I just want what's directly attached to my variable term. Okay, so just the 3n. Don't want the 6. And we're just going to do that all the way through up here in the top to get thinking about variable terms. Okay? So you're like, all right, that's not too bad up top. I don't have to solve them yet. That'll come a little later. But as we get towards the bottom, this is where we might start using the note sheet from yesterday a little bit. We're going to translate each equation into a sentence. In other words, they're going to give us an equation. We're going to turn it back into words. So, for example, if you look at number 2 and you were trying to say that to someone so they'd repeat it back or write down what you see there, what would you tell them? How would you describe number 2 in words? Yes, ma'am.
30 over 8 equals 26.
That's fine, okay? And we can just write the numbers for the numbers. We don't have to spell the numbers out. We could put 30 over A, or you could write divided by A. Equals 6. You don't have to be fancy. Now, if you want to get fancy to take a little boredom out of it and start using difference and sum and quotient and all that, you can. All those fancy words are on our note sheet from yesterday. But otherwise, we can do it this way. What if, let's see here. Let's move down a little. Let's get a little more challenge going here. What about number 5? Any ideas on how we could talk about number 5 in words? So he's on a roll. All right.
2 times minus 1
Nice. Okay. So we could say 2 times a number. Nicely done. We can even do that instead of saying the variable. And you could say b if you wanted to. So 2 times a number minus 1 equals 5. You could say is 5. You have options. And this is just to get you some practice at, instead of always just seeing that, yeah, this gets done this way, you know, kind of see how this works out. You can actually see, you know, when you see the words, you'll know how to put it into the form. Let's see here. Yeah, there's another couple coming here, so we'll come down a little ways. Okay, come down a little ways here. Now we've also got some spots down here where they go in words. We're supposed to make the equation. So let's see here. What about if we drop down to number 4 on the bottom here? How could I write that in a math equation? If we were doing number 4. What would it look like? Or if you don't want to say it, I'll even let you write it up here if you want to. Okay. Over x equals 10. 50 divided by a certain number. Make any variable you want out of it. Okay. You could, if you wanted to, you could write 50 divided by x equals 10. Okay, that would work too. Any of those work for us. So just something that we want to be able to do. Let's see. Let's find another one. Okay, let's go down to 7. 7 might throw us for a little bit of a twist here. What's 7 going to look like? We'll see if any of you get caught on this one or if you've got this. Give it a go. Good, because I knew we talked yesterday about sometimes the order switches, but not here. 15 minus x equals 2. And we just write those out and we're done. Again, we're not solving right now, but we'll get to a point where we'll take these, we'll create them, and then we'll solve them. But we're not quite there yet. Now on the bottom, here's what I'm going to have you do instead. I'm going to tweak the bottom part here a little bit. Write 10 equations that contain variables. Well, we're going to do a couple of tweaks here. We're going to cut it down to 5. And we're going to write 5 equations. We're going to change this a little. In words, then make it a math equation. Now here's what I mean. Okay, so on the back, I'll do one for you here. I'll just do it on the front so we don't have to be flipping back and forth. We're going to make 5 equations up in words and then turn into a math equation. So let's say I decide I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to do the product of 6 and x is 72. I wanted to use a fancy word. And then I say, okay, well now what's that going to look like as a math equation? And maybe you'll do the equation first and then do this. That's fine too. Well, I know product is times. So I'd have 6x, and I know is equals. Okay. So I did it in words, and then I did it as a math equation. And I want you to come up, and if you want to use mine, you can use mine as the one. You only got 4 left. But that's what I want you to do for those. On the other side, or maybe you got some room, I guess if you start working up the side of the page here, okay? But again, just a few of those to get you going. We're not trying to do anything really fancy. So once we get off the variables page, we're going to spend one more day here, a part of a day, I guess, with order of operations. Now just a reminder, I'm just going to put these up at the top just in case we don't remember. We remember we always do parentheses first. Then we do exponents, so if we see the squared or the cubed working. And I'm going to run out of room here. Then we do multiply or divide. But again, if we have more than one, we always start with the one to the left. And then we add and subtract in the same way. Okay. And as long as you follow those rules, and it's okay if you've got to look back and forth, that's okay. But as long as you follow those rules, you'll end up just fine. Okay? So there's 3 of them that I want to take a look at with you. And then I'm going to set you off on your own for the rest of these. And a calculator might come in handy for some of this. but we're going to take a look at 1 and 4 and number 11 here. But I'm going to bring up my calculator just in case I run into something that I need a little bit of help with. And again, you can always get these online if you have access to a computer. You can even have the ones like we have here in class right with you. So, all right, got my calculator ready. I'm like, all right, let's see what we got here. Parentheses, I do have parentheses. I see them right here. So I've got to do that first. So, let's see, within that, which one of those things in the parentheses do I have to do first? I see times and I see an exponent. Exponent, okay? So I got 3 to the 3rd power. Now if I don't remember off the top of my head what 3 to the 3rd power is, it's not 9, because 3 to the 3rd power is 3 times 3 times 3. So I'm like, okay, so I got 4 squared minus 2 times 27 times 1 divided by 2. So now I get here and I'm like, okay, well I still got parentheses. So I got to multiply this stuff in the parentheses together. So I'm like, okay. And again, I can let the calculator help me out. No shame in that. Nothing wrong with using the tools you've got available. Okay, so finally the parentheses are gone. So I see subtract, I see divide, I see exponents. Let's see. Subtract, divide, exponent. Exponent's the highest up on my list. Anybody know what 4 squared is? 16. Nicely done. All right. I'm down to 2 choices here. And again, some of you may be like, man, that's a lot of stuff you're trying to do. Yeah, but again, it's better to kind of take my time with steps and get it right than try to go 100 miles per hour and get it wrong. So, divide or subtract, divide. 54 divided by 2 is 27. And then if I want, I can go to my calculator for that last step and get the answer. So it's gonna test your patience a little bit. I'm not gonna tell you it isn't. But that's why we don't do a zillion of these, just enough to kind of get you thinking about it. So then, just so we didn't get into confusion, one of my reasons I wanted to do number 4 here, let me move this up a bit, swing this over, is sometimes people see these brackets and they're like, well, what's that? They're just like parentheses are. So when I go to see what I'm doing, I got to get this cleaned up first. And the one other thing I want to show you here, which is my main reason for this problem, is this right here. Sometimes people get a little careless. And here's what I mean. They'll see -1 cubed and they just do this. They do -1/3. Oh, crap. If I see parentheses around a negative, I want to get the parentheses in there. Okay? And this little arrow button here called a caret is my exponent button. That's where I'm getting my 3 that way. So I'm like, okay, so I've got, and if you want to do multiple steps at a time, you can. I normally don't, just because I tend to screw up then. And then I just start down the road again, okay? I still have parentheses here. I need to do that next. Get that out of the way. And now that those are gone, I can start working my way down the list. Well, no more parentheses. Exponents are next. So when I do that, again, I can use my caret button as my squared. Get 81. And then if you're going to get all this way and do it right, be careful at the end. Multiply's got to come before add does. and we're set. So again, have some patience on these. There's not a billion of them, so we can do that pretty easily. The last one I want to take a look at here in a minute is number 11, because it comes up with that fraction bar again. I want to make sure we're okay with the fraction bar. So let me move up here a bit. Might be able to get both of these on at the same time. Hey, all right. So move that over there. 11 down at the bottom of our screen. Again, when we're doing these, our biggest thing is going to be, I need to look at it like it's two separate problems, and then I put it all back together at the end. So here's what I'm going to do, and I'll come back down for 4 here in a minute if we need to. Denominator does not exist right now. Well, times comes before subtract, so 3 times 2 is 6 minus 6, because I did that part first. Well, that's 0. Okay. Once I do that top like it's its own problem, I can uncover it back up. You can just use your finger too. And we cover up the other side. So 7 minus 5 is 2. Okay. And once I get it cleaned up to where it's just a number over a number, 0 divided by 2 is just 0, and I'm ready to go. So here's my suggestion. Of course, get these two knocked out and out of the way. That shouldn't be a problem in about 20 minutes here. The other thing would be, if there's still some of the original homework from check 1 that you need to get done to be able to get turned in, I'd just get that done and out of the way and go to the weekend nice, free, and clear. And then we're ready for equations come Monday.